We're live. Apology for the video. We could not get the camera hooked up before this podcast today. That's all right, man. Fucking A, dude. We was really trying to pull one out of the hat, but
Check.
it just didn't fucking happen.
Let me check with Jim to see if he got this.
We got a special guest for you today.
It's our
Yeah, we got Jim Lee, Reverend Jim Lee, Unity Minister, was one of the main ministers at Church of Today, and later on what became Renaissance Unity, student of Jack Boland, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy today. We're going to be he's here. He comes.
I can see you.
All right, boom, got him.
All right.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Let's see, can we hear you though?
Can you hear me? Anything I need to do?
No, we can hear you now. You might want to turn the volume up a little bit on yours. We're going to turn the mic up over
there. All right. Can you hear me better?
Yep.
Can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
So how are you? How you doing? You look like you didn't. You look like you age in reverse.
Oh!
You do. Yeah, I mean, I swear to, what are you, 25, 26?
Oh man, I'm really doing good, and thanks for this. I'm so glad that first of all that you all are doing this, because I think the word needs to get out. And boy, you've always had this creative streak in you doing stuff like this. I'm so glad that you're putting it to use now.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good. I never, when it came to the movies and stuff, it never felt, there were accomplishments. It just never felt, it wasn't fulfilling. You know what I mean? And then this has been tough, and it doesn't pay as well, but it does. Like the dividends that it pays just by trying, right? Like the holy boldness in action thing. I love your email address, by the way. Just the act of trying, and then you start to get a little disappointed when you see other people aren't so much. There's a lot of talk, but that's the process I'm in right now of trying to remind myself. Well, that's everyone's got their own journey, and but the fact that I'm doing it, he's doing it. We were talking about it today. Like we're actually doing what they're talking about in service, and it feels good.
All right,
kind of like what you've done your whole life.
Hold on a second. Well, I was trying to get the glare off of my glasses, but it is what it is. It's not too bad, is it?
No. Looks very sophisticated. New age glasses.
Well, I was trying to get the glare off of them.
So
I think it's. So what'd you say?
You're retired now.
Yeah, as of Easter was my last day as a minister. Been a minister for actually 29 and a half years.
Wow.
And so now for the past couple of weeks, I am in retirement. And for the first time in my life, I'm doing life differently. I have grew up in a lot of my time in corporate America. And what we did, we always set a goal, an objective, then we develop a strategy to execute that goal. And for the first time, I'm not developing a goal. I'm waiting for a goal to develop me. Mm-hmm. I am not going in with a particular agenda. In fact, I am willing to let go of my previous identity, what it was to be a minister. I'm willing to let go of my old way of being and thinking, and now I'm so open to what is next. And what I call this is a grand mystery that I'm stepping into. And what I like, before I didn't like a mystery, but I like a mystery this time because in this mystery is infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
So I'm good. This is very new for me.
The mystery mastermind. The mystery mastermind.
Yes, mystery mastermind. I like that.
Once
And
I let go of that actor thing, it was hard for me. Like my whole life was that, and
yeah,
it was either go out there and be a paycheck dad for my kids. I had just had my son. They pulled the incentives out of Michigan, or stay here, be a father, and find something else to do. You can still do that, but it's not going to be your full time gig. And it was tough. I went through a dark night of the soul, and I had to be flat broke, and I hadn't been that way since I was a kid, and but it was necessary for me to feel that and get just brought to my knees and like, okay, well, I have to do something because I got to pay bills, and I went and I started this company in a couple of years. It's a multi-million-dollar company and a business I had no business being in, but I was open to it, and I took the job just because. And I wound up fighting insurance companies, and I won for this little old lady, and it felt real good. And I wound up within a year. I had my own business in 2 years, $multi-million. So it was. I had to let go though. I had to let go of that identity, and it was painful.
and you do. So now, what is the purpose of your company now?
So we. The goal is to get in before the insurance company actually gets to people. So it's property damage, and we know everything adjusters know. We know more than what adjusters know, but we're there basically to keep them honest. So we specialize in storm damage. So in storm damage areas, we'll let people know, hey, you might have damage up there. We'll check it out, let you know. If it's claimable, then they'll claim it, and then we'll meet the adjuster. So it's
Oh wow, that's good.
yeah, so that's what we do. I mean, we do the work too, but the claim to fame was our ability to keep some of these conglomerates honest for people.
And what about the podcast that you're doing now? What is the purpose of that as well?
The podcast is pretty much to it's a multifaceted thing. I'm more focused in on the spiritual shift and the spiritual awakening that's taking place. I feel a lot of people don't understand what's going on in a lot of different ways. There's multiple dimensions that are doing things. You have, we left the age of Pisces and now we're entering the age of Aquarius, and everyone thought that was going to be like the song back in the 60s, this is the age of Aquarius, and it's not as in it's not as smooth as that song, and I really just want to elevate people's consciousness to the point, because if you're holding on to the identity of your third dimensional being that you created, whether you're, we take these identities and we make them our own. Like I'm a doctor, and so I don't want to call it a mask, but you have a persona, and your true being, the flesh is just the meat suit, underneath is the soul, and your soul is getting enlarged because the shift is now happening, and people's consciousnesses are changing. There's, people are starting to realize that the food that they eat has been poisoned for a long time. People realize now that the water they've been drinking is full of chemicals and pharmaceuticals and all sorts of things, and it's inhibited them from really being their true spiritual self. We're spiritual in nature. That's how God created us. And somehow the powers that be blocked that spirit from really truly encompassing its own nature, you know. And so the podcast for me is to help people elevate the consciousness. And you know, I'm a new earth believer. I believe we're shifting into a new earth, and the old way will no longer work. You know, being a consumer, consumerism, capitalism, and chasing dollars and being on the hamster wheel to survive and live check to check, and car payments and car insurance and mortgages and rent, and never really experiencing life. Uh, that's all coming to an end, you know. And
Well, we hope. We hope.
I think a lot of people are struggling with this is because they're no longer making it. And the struggle that they're experiencing is whatever they believe in, whether it's God or, you know, the universe, whatever you want to call that power, is wanting you to take a leap, wants you to take a jump. And the fear that's associated with the jump is like, well, how am I going to make my bills? And I've got kids, and how am I going to get the food on the table? The whole
Right.
premise of that jump is for God to show you that you're taken care of. You've always been taken care of. But if you don't take the jump and you live in the fear, you're going to have a lot of, either way,
a lot of what we have now.
Right. Eventually you'll have to take the jump. It's just that it's better to just embrace the jump early and start to see what God really has in store for you, because I believe that the whole thing is bringing love and compassion into the forefront of the human experience and setting the division behind us. You know, you have systems in place that keep us divided, like we spoke on the phone, and these things divert spirit in fragmented ways where it just makes it impossible to grasp things. And instead, all these divisions of things, they just cause hate and competition, and you know, those things are not going to serve us in the future, you know. And I really got into the Course of Miracles within the last 2 years. And I know for a lot of people out there, people have different opinions of it. But, you know, you are not your body is one. And then that book really goes into what my ego's role is in the mind, which is pretty much nothing. It's only there to deviate you from your divine mind.
See, I disagree. So what it's there for is to defend us, to protect us. That's what its function is. Its entire function. So it's based in this fear. That's why it divides us.
But what do you need protection from?
Well, this is a trauma. You're born into trauma. The second you leave that birth canal, I mean, Jung said the first trauma we experience is the birth canal. And then you enter this field of trauma, right? And trauma isn't the event, but, you know, I have PTSD. I'm on the other side of it now. But so my ability to process trauma was broken at a young age, between the ages of the third trimester and then 3. So your processors being formed. And if you have disorganized attachment with your caregiver or whatever, then you can't process trauma. So that's where mine came from. It didn't come from all the traumatic events. I just didn't know how to process through the trauma. So we're born to feel the trauma.
You're floating in and out. I can't hear you. You're floating in and out for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I keep moving away from the mic.
You might want to pick that up and just
I
hold
might
it
need
with
to.
you.
Well, before you go any further, I just want you to take a look at this. So, in this new way of being that you've talked about, you all are good examples of it. As you approach this topic, you've got 2 points of view. there is in science and through cosmology for 13.77 billion years, this universe has formulated through synergistic energies coming together that didn't seem like they were together, but they came together and they produced something new, something like oxygen, hydrogen coming together. Nobody would have thought that it would have produced water, but it did. And what we're talking about now is how can we take a look at opposing views, elevate them, not hold on to our positions, but allow something brand new to occur. And that's what we're up to now. This is the age of Aquarius. And I forgot, what was it? What group sang that? This is the dawning of the age of.
Wasn't it in a movie?
It was
I thought it was a
I
musical.
forgot the name of the group.
wasn't
But
the Osmonds,
anyway,
was it?
no.
Okay, good.
But anyway, I think it may have been the fifth dimension.
Nice.
And it was the age of Aquarius. Well, the age of Aquarius is here. And part of what it's about is a holistic approach, synergistic approach, taking a look at opposites, bringing it together in love, not being so attached to a particular position, but allow something brand new to come about. And this is an exciting time. The only thing is, it can be very scary if you don't have the right mindset, or let's just say you don't have the right headset on. The old way of what I would call this world of separation, this world of polar opposites, this world of, I would say, competing forces, is a way that we needed to maneuver back in the day. But in this new era, is calling forth a brand new skill that some people are coming on board, and some people are holding on to the old way because some people don't like the new way. So the new way is this: love is the order of the day. Compassion is the key, and be willing to stand in that no matter what, and trust that, number one, love always wins, and there's something that was going to come out of it, because this is the time forward. And then the last thing I just want to break here before we get into something else: we were born for this.
Right.
Had that conversation.
This isn't an accident.
I've been waiting for this my entire life. I knew this was the plan when I got here. I knew the plan at 5 and 6 years old. You know, it just and you know, you go through life thinking, when is the time gonna come? You know, and now, like, this is it's for me, it's extremely exciting to see all these human beings shifting their consciousness and learning new things and learning on how to get healthier, and, you know, going home and cooking at home rather than stopping at McDonald's for a 30-piece chicken nugget and a Coke.
They do 30 piece?
Yeah, they do. And so, you know, these things, I've been able to experience these things, like water. You know, water is a crucial part of my spiritual health, whether it's getting into the water, the water I drink, you know, and you can, you know, the difference, you know the difference of what you're putting in your body now, because the frequencies on the planet and the vibrations on the planet have changed just in the last 3 years by so much that, you know, my body instantly, if I eat a really good salad or I make a smoothie that's, you know, celery, beet, and kale, it may not taste good, but I'll tell you, my spiritual consciousness just, it like gets struck by lightning after I have that smoothie. Like, seriously.
Well, and you can feel it, but that's where compassion comes in, because there's so many people that can't. There's so many people that are still blocked from that experience, and you don't know it until you have it, like that. And that's the one, getting on the other side of PTSD and cognitive processing therapy. To get over that, I really had to become a study in it, and so I really understand how the brain works and how those mechanisms, and you don't know until you know, and sometimes you know too late, you know, and it's that's where the compassion has to come in, because it's tough. It's tough, you know, especially when people infringe or attempt to infringe on you, or their actions land in your backyard, and now you got to deal with it. It makes it tough, but it's the only way. We've tried every other way.
So this is the way that I like for us to try, and see if you all can hold on to this. You know this, but to be this is a different thing.
Right.
There's one basic principle, and excuse me, there is a basic principle in New Thought. It's not dogma, but we call it a truth principle. And it's this: there is only one presence in the entire universe. The foundational presence is not fragmented, it's not against itself, it's whole, and it's complete. And this presence, it may go by a whole bunch of different names. Some people call it God. I'm a minister, and I have a challenge with the term God because it has so much baggage with it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call it the infinite I. Some people call it got all kind of unconditional love, the essence of reality, whatever name you call it.
My boy.
There's only one, and it is in everything, and nothing can exist without it. Anything that exists has to come from this foundational principle that, since the Big Bang, created everything and is still creating. And so I'd like for us to hang on to this one principle, that there is only a presence of I call it the infinite I, that's everywhere, and everything is made from it. There is nothing that can come from anywhere else other than this divine essence, because there is nothing else. It's it. Now, if you take that, there's only one presence. That means that everything is an emanation or a manifestation of this one presence. And if you take that again, that means that every human being, every tree, every pebble, everything is a manifestation of it. And there is a school of thought that says all of this is evolving and working towards our good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the key is we are looking at this through the egoic lens, which is a good lens to navigate this field of separation. If we didn't have an egoic concept, we would not protect ourselves. We wouldn't eat right. We wouldn't be doing things right. It serves a purpose. The only thing is, it's a limited purpose, and we try to take its purpose beyond what it's supposed to be, and that's when we get in trouble. But it has a purpose. There's some people that want to poo-poo and kill off the ego, and I'm saying, if you kill off the ego as a human being, you can't exist. It's there for a purpose. In other words, when we take a look at life, I'd like for us to take a look at, what if we're not seeing it right versus there's something wrong with it.
Right.
What if our perception and interpretation, as I understand it, our mind is a supercomputer, but it can only process, I think it's something like 100,000 bits of information in a day.
It's extremely slow comparatively.
When what's available is 1 million bits of information, is always available, but we're not able to process everything. So I'm willing to say that we don't see everything. And also, there are rays that we don't or are not able. We're able to see the sun rays, but there's gamma rays, there's X-rays, there's microwave, there's all kind we don't see. And so we got to break out of the thing that if we see it, that's the only reality. Then the last thing that I want to bring up is, because of our conditioning, you told me you had PTSD, and all of us that grew up in, there's probably not many human beings that have grown up that didn't have some type of trauma in their life in which it kind of distorted everything. So what if we recognize in this moment, there's a possibility, like it says in the Course in Miracles. What if we are willing to see things differently? And based upon that, what if we have another interpretation? What if this thing, this person, this condition isn't against me? What if this person, this thing, this condition is here to promote my growth and evolution, but I'm misperceiving it? I'm labeling it bad and wrong. And what we're doing most of the time is we're killing the messenger and not getting the message that the messenger is giving us. So where I'm coming from is a whole new way of thinking and being, in which we are open to a new possibility that what if the politician is the absolute horrible thing on the planet, but what if he's there to create something that will draw something out of us that will cause us to evolve? This is a one heck of a drama. And as you all know, in any kind of script, if you're going to write a script for anything, you need to have something that bumps up against it. You need the main character, just about in every movie script or whatever, the main character grows because of some challenge. Because of some.
When we have the elements of there's 8 elements of a scene, and there needs to be conflict. There needs to, there's you need to know your environment. There's these things that you need to know, or else there's no life.
Very good. So I'd like for us to take a look at that. And this is radical. Not everybody's able to go there. However, and then you all talked about this too. If one of us is able to break through and experience, oh, this is horrible. I hate this. I don't like this. This is despicable. And I'm willing to look at it differently. I'm willing to look at this. Is there a way that this is calling me up higher to develop some new muscles? Is it here for a purpose beyond my limited thinking? And if one of us is able to do that, it is contagious like a virus. Other people will start to having breakthroughs. There's a book that I like, and I forgot who wrote it. Every breakdown is a setup for a breakthrough. And I really like that. So right now, as I look at the planet, everything is in breakdown. I don't see anything really working right. And all kind of, we talked about this the other day. We look at the educational system. Is that working right? I don't think so. If we look at the governments working right, I don't think so. If you, whatever we're doing and everything is in breakdown, that's because it needs to break down. It's no longer working. The key is, are we attuned enough to step into what's next? Because there's something evolving next. So I give an example. There's some people that may not like Trump. And I don't know if there's any people in your audience that say, you know what, I don't particularly care for his politics. I can understand that. But what if he's not the boogeyman? What if he is there creating whatever he's creating and people get upset, and you're supposed to get upset because it's calling you up higher. You're supposed to be and to do something differently. There's an example in Georgia in the 60s. There was this governor by the name of Lester Maddox. And what he did, he stood on the steps, I think it was some college, where he had a axe handle in his hand. And he says, you will not integrate. This is never going to happen. What happened after that, the rest of Georgia started to organize politically like they'd never organized before. What he did was a call to arms to organize, work together, and they removed him from power. The very thing that he thought that he was preventing, he was a catalyst for something brand new to break through. So I just want to put that out there and I'm looking at applying this to every condition, the situation that's going on. Global warming. Horrible. We're doing nothing about it. However, there are segments now that are talking about ecology like they've never done before. There are people that it's like a call to arms. We've got to do something about this. And I am here to say that there's something that's ready to emerge. The key is, are we ready to be with what's ready to emerge? Hopefully that made some sense.
It makes absolute sense, and we have no choice, really. I mean, it's if we want the human race to survive, I can't think of any other ways to try. You know what I mean? Like with all the things all the issues that we still have today that have never left us, still fighting the same religious wars, still battling the same deal with race, still bullying, still doing all these things, still just engulfed in toxic shame, and we keep doing the same thing. So Trump steps out, right? And I see what I see as a guy who's, I understand mental illness. I understand how he's triggered. I understand, so I can sympathize with the guy. Doesn't mean I'm going to vote for him, but I can actually feel sorry and say, man, he just really wants to be liked, and they're manipulating.
So what if Trump is only a representation of what's in the consciousness of a group of people? That he is their champion because they think like him. If you removed Trump, that would not remove all those people that think like him.
Right.
So sometimes we're focused too much on Trump when he's just a symbol, because he got in office because people voted for him, love him, stand by him, because he's representing something that's within them. So my thing is, what is going on in that consciousness that allows them to think that way? And instead of trying to suppress them, call them names, I would say marginalize them.
All you do is add fuel to the fire.
There is something that is happening there that we are not paying attention to, and we need to embrace it, not reject it, and let it feed into what's ready to evolve. The sweet thing about this new way of thinking, and you're absolutely right, this is the age of Aquarius, and some people call it a ninth wave that has come into existence. It's been in existence now for about 10, 12 years. They call it a ninth wave. And with that, there is something ready to come forward, and it's inviting us now, as you mentioned earlier, we have got to come up with a brand new way. What's the expression? If you keep on doing things over and over again,
expecting a different result, it's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
We think war is going to bring peace. It ain't. It's not
Haven't
going.
learned that lesson yet. That's one that's
pretty. And we think that suppressing our enemy is going to bring about, I don't know, a new day.
Yeah, they're just going to take it and forget about it.
I want to go back to the ego for a minute, because a lot of us get hooked on the narrative of our life. Like, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. You grab these things, or I got PTSD, but what the ego does is that it hooks that, and then it becomes a part of your identity, and then you use that as part of yourself's identity, where now you are really just kind of like, you're identifying in the negative. And when you identify in the negative, the divine mind, it creates like, what are you doing here? Like, why are we doing this? And so the divine mind almost gets smaller, because the ego mind is like, well, I need to identify. I need another label. I need this. I need that to build this identity, because that's all. To me, the ego is just an identity that my divine self is not in that makeup. At the end of the day, I'm just a being. Underneath the meat suit, I am just a spiritual being created by my creator that chose to come to earth for a mission, for my life's purpose. And at the end of it, I'll go home. I'll go back to the mansion and we'll call it good until it's time to do another one. But I had to lose, one of my mentors a long time ago, Terrence McKenna was like, you are not your culture. And we want to cling to these things, my ethnicity, my culture, where I come from. All these things are nothing more. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. We keep building this identity in this realm that's not even really of the spirit.
Unless you're not, I mean, and to get to spirit, you have to. So the reason I'm on the other side of PTSD and understand it so well, it's because I didn't accept it as my identity. As soon as I recognized the pattern, I had something to work with. So it was really just pattern recognition. That's all this is to me. Like this whole grand scheme and what the ego is, pattern recognition. Because we have about 30 years to where we're not very discerning about anything now. But when you're born, all that stuff that's getting programmed into you from the third trimester till you're about 3, you have no ability to discern. So whatever your parents showed you, that's what the truth is. And you spend the rest of your human existence trying to break free from that. And that's not easy because that's your autopilot, right? So roughly 5% of you is conscious. So as soon as that gets knocked into autopilot, we're here. We're stuck in our amygdala. And if you're me, then you're on the edge of fight or flight. You know what I mean? You're trying to, you don't know if you're dying or not. But you can't even get back into your neocortex, right? And you're definitely not getting to the frontal lobe. So you're stuck here. And that's why, when they drop racism, everybody's triggered by it. So of course we're going to fight and they're going to get away with whatever they want because they're just going to drop that word on us. They know it's triggering. So we live in this state of, even if from a quantum physics perspective, if you don't believe in anything spiritual, as we are light particles, that's what we are. That's truly what we are. We're subatomic particles at our core. So we get pushed into this realm of I believe in the consciousness first. That's my school of thought. Some people are material first, but even still, to get to where we are, this level of matter and ability to discern and consciousness, to be able to get here, we had to get the Higgs boson was the first thing that tied us up, right? So we should be traveling at the speed of light if we are traveling in accordance with our true nature. We're not. So we're traumatized all the time because nothing we're doing is in accordance with who we truly are. But I agree with what Christ said. I'm in this world, but I'm not of it. You know what I mean? Like that's the way I think to navigate through this is to say, I'm in this world, I'm not of it, and then try to recognize that in others too. Like, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. I've had to say that a lot lately.
I know. Well, I love the premise of what's your identity. And I recently had to go through this because I just recently retired. After 29 and a half years being a senior minister, that became an identity. And now it has caused me to take a look at, I was a minister, can be a minister, and it's like wearing a shirt. I'm wearing it and I have it, but if I take off my shirt, I'm more than my shirt or my clothes. And you're absolutely right. The new way of being, you nailed it. We need to shift our identity from these things we have been programmed. I call we have been all domesticated in order to function in this environment. And there are different forms of domestication, with the rules and way of thinking, but it causes us to identify with certain things: careers, job, education, marriage. That's the reason why sometimes when a marriage break up, because it's so identified with it, people just lose it. I mean, it just goes into trauma, because they're identified with that instead of what is our true identity. Now, that is a piece of work that this new age is inviting us to step into. What if we have a body, but we're more than our body? What if we have an ego, but that's not our identity? We're more than that. There's some people that say, when you really look at it, and you really look at it, who are we? Everybody can agree that as long as they're alive, they are aware. You cannot exist. As soon as you open your eyes, you're aware. Everybody has it. Everybody on the planet is aware. Matter of fact, you can be blind and you still can be aware. So awareness seems to be our true identity. All these other things are nice, but that's not our true identity. And awareness leads into consciousness. So our real identity is consciousness, which is way bigger than this body, way bigger than even this present moment, because consciousness goes all over. Can we find ways to tap into our true identity, which is consciousness, and allow that to help motivate it and go forward? And you're absolutely right. The major problem that we have is that we're hooked up and caught up into false identities, and we think they are really us. And when we get hooked by them, it is designed, these identities, designed to bump into a challenge so that we can go up and beyond it and get closer to who we really are. So I love the idea of identities. That's really sweet.
Well, I can't even count how many times I almost had to die before it finally got through my thick head that, oh, there's a lesson here for me to, I got to get on the other side of this. And it was, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't for the life of me. And it was ketamine, quantum physics, and the birth of my son. So it was those three things. Ketamine was the only thing I could teach yoga. I knew what it did. I loved the principle. I couldn't make it work for myself. So it was ketamine that finally broke down that the glutamate receptors, and I went into transcendental meditation. And I was after the first near death, call it near death experience, but the transcendental where I went into no mind, I was never the same. After that, I was never the same. It put me on a journey that and I just needed it that once. And I don't know that
Wow.
I really believe in psychedelic integration therapy because we are in an egocentric society. We cry, we get fed, you know what I mean? Like that, it's just how it is. There's nothing wrong with it. But now we have to help each other transcend. Is really what we're trying to do here. We're trying to transcend the human condition. I don't think
and one of the
either.
One of the things, I agree with that. One of the things that I want to say is controversial, and I've gotten into trouble for saying this. African Americans are too attached to being African Americans, too attached to their ethnicity. And the reason why I'm saying African American, because I am one. I'm saying everybody, but I'm going to talk about what I am. And that is really good, but only to a certain degree. What I'm saying is the identification with it only goes so far. There was a time in which we had to over-identify, and this was back in the 60s and 70s. James Brown had this song, "I'm Black and I'm Proud." We had to identify because we came from a place where we felt dehumanized and we weren't proud. So we went through that phase, we swung over here, Black Power and all of that. But that's not going to carry us to the next level. The next level, we got to come back and say, I am African American, just like I got this shirt. But who I am is this potent, powerful, spiritual being that happens to be Black. But when I identify with that, that lifts me up even further to the next level. And I would say, really criticized quite a bit because this is not a popular theme in my community. But what I'm saying is this age of Aquarius, this new way of being is you don't dismiss your ethnicity. You don't dismiss it. You recognize, oh, this is the color I am. Oh, and I have certain tendency. Oh, and I like this kind of music, whatever that is. But also the identification needs to be more than that in order for us to get to this next level. All those other things that happened, they were necessary levels. But now how do we get beyond that to get to this next, and we won't get to that next level doing the same old thing, the way we've been doing it before, and the same way of thinking.
And it starts from the individual because it's got to come from the inside out. You have to make that shift in yourself, or I don't think you can experience it collectively. You can get drug along, I think, maybe, but until it happens within you, you really can't be of extreme value to yourself. That's not true either, because if you can recognize patterns, well, that's traumatic. And then I went through some stuff, and thank God I did, right? But at a certain
And what
point,
if? And I want to respond to that. So what if there is? Oh God, she's profound. Byron Katie. She says, nothing ever happens to you. Everything happens for you. Mm-hmm. And I love that because that gets back to the thing, what if it's all of the divine and different manifestations, and that thing is coming toward me that I'm thinking, oh, it's bad, and it is bad. Oh, it's horrible. It is horrible. Oh, I can't stand it. And you're right, you shouldn't. But what if it's happening for you to support you in going to the next level? We've got to change how we're viewing things, how we're thinking things, but more importantly, how we're perceiving things in this age of Aquarius, because it's a new world order that's coming online. And our job now is to be in sync and in harmony with it. Last thing I wanted to say, that this universe has been evolving from the very beginning. It's still evolving. It's expanding as we speak. The planetary alignments are shifting and changing. And so what it is and what you all are up to is supporting this age of Aquarius and people shifting and making a new identities, new ways of being, so we can be in alignment with really trying to occur.
Mm-hmm. One question. I like Lessons in Truth. Katie,
yes.
That's the first book you read at the Detroit Urban Ministerial School. The perception, the observer, and the perception of reality and what you want to manifest. I think a large part of the problem is that I don't know how to put it, like they have us programmed to try to all see reality the same way, but it's impossible to do that because the perception is going to be individualized by the observer. And you know, I it's tricky to try to teach that. You know, it's very tricky to try to I will never see reality the same as someone else. But you have all these things in this third dimension that's trying to get you to look at things collectively. Uh, like we talked about, you know, polarization one way or the other, you know, and I think by polarizing 3D, it makes the ego scatterbrained. You know, it makes the ego want to reach out in a million different directions and grab onto so many different things, especially like screens. And you know, with the amount of information and the amount of clickbait bullshit that's out there, you know, it overstimulates the mind in a way that, you know, you 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 can't observe properly. The perception can't digest that fast. But yet, you know, we're on our screens. You know, I think Apple told me I was on my screen for like, I average like 3 hours a day last week.
We're cyborgs.
You know, and you know, I mean, I know I do a lot of stuff through the phone and stuff, but still, that's too much. So like,
it might not be.
What?
It might be just enough.
Right, but you gotta, you know, if I'm trying to shift my consciousness, I have to be able to process the truth, my truth that I see in that reality as the observer. But I can't do that if it's completely polarized every second, all the time. It's 10 times more work.
And I think I do simplify it because I think there's two ways you can live. You either live in fear or you don't. You know what I mean? Like that's really, you know, and that's where attachment comes from. Why do you attach to things? Why do you cling? Because you fear what's so for me it just came down to I'm just not going to attach to anything. I might want things, but and it came from that whole actor thing where I had to let go of that identity. And essentially, I killed Cool Vince, right? The therapist told me years later, I wrote Life Goes On, and I kept the character's name Vince, and I killed him. But I didn't realize that I was writing a death note to my ego. Like this is way prior to any kind of therapy or flashbacks, and that's what I was doing. That's why I kept his name Vince. I've never kept my name Vince in anything else that I've done. So we have these intuitive abilities to us that'll carry us through it if we just trust that too. Like so, I found myself in some pretty sticky situations that almost killed me, and I thank God that I trusted myself enough and trusted whatever forces were out there to say, you need this lesson. You need this lesson. You're gonna have to be a dumbass because there's nothing else. You know what I mean? And what I found out is that the thing I lacked, the thing that kept me stagnant, not stagnant, I was always moving, but kept me somewhat stagnant or not moving as progressing as much. I couldn't find compassion for myself for the missteps. And that was my big problem is that I couldn't find compassion. I could find it for other people. I couldn't find it for myself because I just always blamed me. You know what I mean? And that's just how I was. Always blaming me. Stupid. Like even what I said just now, being an asshole. I'm joking, but you know, I believe that. That's what was programmed into me, that you're never going to be shit. And you know what I mean? So,
and that point, along with this other point of being the observer, is key.
Yeah.
If we are able to stand in an identity of an observer, and all of these thoughts come in, the conditions come in, but we don't get hooked by them.
Right, right.
We observe. I'm an observer of them, and they are there for a reason and a purpose. They're not my identity. They're not for me to get hooked by. They're for me to pay attention to. But my identity is not my job, is not this condition. My identity is not the weird thoughts that go through you're not good enough, you're unworthy, you should have did this. You observe all of those things, but your identity is, you nailed it, you're the observer. Now, being the observer, you now have the capacity to allow those things to come and go, but also being the observer and knowing that you're an observer, you get an opportunity to allow new information to come to you that if you got hooked by it, you wouldn't get it, because you would be, I would call it hook. It reminds me of a fish being hooked and just flopping around and flopping around in the air because it's hooked by a thought. But if you take that hook out, you can then have another relationship with everything that's going on, even those weird thoughts, those even though the conditions that actually are happening and they are true, but being an observer, coming from a place of love and compassion and a willingness to see it differently, something else will start to come to our insights, and we can start having a different relationship with it. You all are really on a good track, because identity and being the observer is so potent coming into this next way of being. The thing of it is, we need to develop more and more skills at being the observer. And when we get hooked, it's okay to get hooked, but find a way to get that hook out your mouth. And that thought to say, that was the dumbest thing ever. You're no good. You what?
So
And you can take a look at it and say, that's true, but you observing it. And then you're free to have another relationship with it, versus it being your identity and then it got you.
So I guess we can close now. You had an hour stop, right? I think we've gone a little over, but
We're about good by another 5 minutes.
all right. So cognitive processing therapy. This is how I got on the other side of Pete. This was the breakthrough. So there's a very limited space between stimulus and response for people with PTSD, and for a lot of us these days. So I was reactionary, very reactionary, and I didn't even realize that I was reactionary just most of my life, hypervigilant. But I was also intelligent. I could read things and I could understand them, and then I thought because I understood them that they just should work, right? So I didn't really put in I didn't do any work, or I didn't go to the gym and put, you know what I mean? So cognitive processing therapy, what it did, it's a real simple thing too, is that before I could have a thought, I was going to feel first, and I knew it when I was in the midst of a flashback. So I had to learn to feel first, because I thought I could get my way out of it. But once you're in fight or flight, kind of like the entire globe is right now, you can't have that. Everything that's human about you is gone. You don't have access to it in those moments. So I had to learn to feel first. Now, and that's tough, because you don't want to feel. That's what your ego is doing. It's protecting you from feeling, and you want to run for the hills, like fight, flight, freeze, collapse. So once I was able to do that, and it's second nature now, once I was able to do that, feel first, I could ask the question, is this real? Is this connected to right now? 99% of the time, it wasn't. Like, if you have a visceral reaction to anything in this human existence right now, in this it's not real. It's not connected to the circumstances unless you're at knife point or gun point, or you know what I mean. But asking that question brought me into mindfulness. It created that awareness, and it allowed that space between stimulus and response to increase. And now I still slip up and I'll, motherfuck somebody, but I still get the lesson. You know what I mean? Like, I still get the lesson, even while my ego's like, whatever. I get the lesson. I walk away from it with a lesson every time.
Very good.
Ask a question. Well, it wasn't simple. I had to walk around with a notebook and take notes about the nuances of my behavior. And if I really wanted to be a dad for my son, I had to put in the effort. I had to go to the gym. And I had to train that muscle. I should have been devastated during this pandemic when my son attempted suicide, and there are several things that happened throughout but I learned, like, for my son, I said, well, why shouldn't he go through this? Why shouldn't we have to go through this together? This could make us stronger, rather than let's try to do everything we can to keep him away from what might have caused it. Let's talk about it. He's a different kid. They tried to give him medication, different. That would have killed me just a few years prior, if I didn't have the ability to stop myself, feel the emotion first, then go into the thought process of, okay, well, if this isn't real, then what is real? Well, who's to say that this isn't the best thing for us? I mean, I went through the same thing when I was a kid, you know what I mean? And so it's, we got to stop ourselves. We're programmed. We are programmed. We're programmed to these identities attached to them.
Yes, indeed. You nailed it. Absolutely. So
I know you said, Reverend Jim, I know you said you was going to just do the mystery thing now that you're retired, but has the mystery presented any interesting doors to walk through?
yes, couple of things. I've always been into. I was what called a unity minister, and then now I've taken it to another level. I am evolved into more what I would call non-dual consciousness, which is accessing wholeness with some practical tools. It's one thing to say there's only one, but there's another thing to step into consciousness of oneness, of wholeness. So that door is open up for me. And in May, I am going to a retreat center in Mexico. It's a Course in Miracles retreat center. And they are stepping into a more non-dual consciousness. And so I'm going to go there. And then there's another retreat center that's invited me there. So I'm going to be there for a couple of months. So already doors are opening up in which I'm not going to be a minister, that kind of thing, but exposing myself in a communities that are into Course in Miracles, New Thought, and what I would call non-dual consciousness. And so that door has just opened up. And I said, oh, okay, this feels good. And so at this point, I want to do things now that makes me feel good, but also that's in alignment with where I'm going. Thanks for asking.
Yep.
There's a door over here too at We the People. Whenever you want to hop on board there, we're like I said, I'm not gonna know if we fail because I'll be dead. You know what I mean? Like it's a lifelong journey, and it's not just a movement thing. I want to. I don't know. I'm kind of scared to touch. I think I can access Christ consciousness. That's scary to me. The fact that I understand so well, and I don't want to. Like, I'm scared of it. Because then what does that mean? That's the fear thing. I got this fear mechanism that says, well, do I got to go live in a mountain now? Or, you know what I mean? Like, do I have to, I don't know. It's a weird, stupid, but it's
what happens if it just said, just be?
That's what it says.
Just
It's
be.
real simple.
But you don't have to go live on a mountain. You
Well,
can still live in Troy.
in this world,
You
but
can
not of
still
it.
do the podcast.
Yeah.
Do everything you want to do.
I don't know about everything. Some of those things might be off the table, but
Well,
Nothing's
this-
off the table. What?
nothing is off the table. I know.
I am, as we started off, this is not only a new day, this is a new era. And there was a book that was out in the 70s, I think. It was called Megatrends. And he was doing projections, analyzing what was going to happen in the future. And so if you look at that book, a lot of what he projected was coming true. But one line that he said in the book that I just found totally amazing, and I say this often, and it is this: my God, what a fantastic time to be alive.
Amen. Amen.
So I just want you all to hold on to that. We need you to do your thing, be who you are, and together, all of us saying, this is a fantastic time to be alive. Not only are we going to get through this, we are, and some people say survive this, we're going to thrive this.
Yeah.
And so I applaud you what you all are doing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You too, Jim, and I'd like to have you on as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because we go all over the spectrum, and they're not always as level-headed as these are. This is really informative, I think, in a time where people need informative without a bunch of yapping back and forth, where you can hold opposing viewpoints, but they don't mean you oppose each other or oppose what being a good human is.
Sharing of knowledge.
Yeah, sharing of knowledge. Yay!
Sharing consciousness. Take it to the next level, right? Sharing consciousness.
This is the age of Aquarius.
It is the fifth dimension who did that song. You was right. That was the name of the band.
Yeah, that's the name of the band.
They did that whole movement, though, how they tainted the hippie movement. Because now all I can think about is, they must be on drugs, which I don't care. I got no problem with that. But it's like how they spin something that's beautiful into something like, you know what I mean? Like, the powers that be, gotta love them.
And once again, what if these obstacles are put in place for us to grow? So I just want to leave you with that. In other words, I'm looking at things very differently than I used to. I'm not interested in something can actually oppose me. I'm actually looking at what if I look at this right, it can support my next evolutionary growth. And so with that, guys, hey, keep on doing what you're doing.
You too.
Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll be in touch for sure.
All right.
Gotta do this again soon.
I would love that.
How's Lisa doing, by the way?
Great.
Yeah.
She's taken over the church.
Really?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
So we did a handoff on Easter. I said, I'm resigning and I'm now minister emeritus. And Lisa took over the realm and she is now the senior minister. So we're still doing good.
We'll have to come to Vegas for service.
All right, man.
All right.
All right, Jim. Love you. Have a great rest of your. You got the whole day. You're good. You're good. Go get younger.
I am.
Till next time.
Okay. Let's see how I sign off. Okay, leave it here. Bye.
So who we got tomorrow? Who's our big guest?
It's on Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday is the big guest. We'll have Mr. E from live from Mexico. He too is another guy that's well versed in Course of Miracles. He's just real enlightened spiritual man who does a lot of good work and part of the new earth, moving the consciousness forward and elevating people's vibration and frequency. It'll be a good time for sure.
It's always a good time.
Yeah.
Here on The Human Condition. All right.
Hopefully the new camera will be set up by then.
It will be. Trust us when we lie. All right, we're out. Love you guys.